Well, we made it. So we're now in week 8 of an 8-week course. So congratulations for putting up with me for 8 weeks. Listening to my ramblings. You're going to listen to a little more if you choose to. And then we'll uh, talk about the cases, and then which not the cases for this week. Then we talk about the final paper and any questions you have. So a bit about some things that have been taking place in that space for sure between the Amazons and the Walmarts, and um, really looking forward to reading it because I've enjoyed reading your work this semester. It's been very uh, uh, interesting to me to see the relationships between folks who want to be in this industry and the undergraduates who are trying to figure out do they want to be in this industry. And I'm doing both sides this semester, and it's been a lot more fun. It's been a lot of fun on both sides, but I've enjoyed this class a lot more because I know you're interested in the field. You're interested in making careers out of this. You are making careers out of this in many cases, and hopefully, what I've been sharing with you, again, as I mentioned, it's complementary to the courses. It's complementary to the cases. Um, but it's not essential that you listen to me go through these mini lectures for you to be able to do the cases. So I will look forward to hearing your feedback and your evaluations on this course and whether it's met your expectations. I'm certain Font would feel the same way. So the best thing you can do is just tell them what you think. Um, we haven't had a whole lot of snafus this semester. We've had a couple of snafus for sure, but hopefully we've gotten back from that, and you've been satisfied with the response and getting back on track. So this last section, Module 8, is on order fulfillment and customer service, which if there's any way to end this, this is the right way to end it, because this is actually where it all begins, isn't it? As we built this entire series of modules around the SC Pro, the CSCMP SC Pro certification process. It's interesting that here we are in week 8, and we're talking about what we spoke about in week 1, which was literally demand management, which says it's all driven by demand, and this is where the demand is. And what's taken place now is that the role of customer service, which includes the order fulfillment side as well too, is now such an influential activity. It's not just taking an order anymore, and that's what I'm going to try to establish for you during these 3. There's 2 lectures on that, 2 mini lectures on that, and then we're going to go into on the last lecture will be on the reverse logistics side. Which I think ties into my goal here is to tie this right back into everything we've spoken about in understanding why things happen and the benefits of doing data mining and data analytics and listening to your customer and being able to convert that into a positive and convert that into more business. So with that, let me get started with this. This first one is on looking at some of the modern tools that are out there now. Certainly there are tools that were not available to me when I was running customer service operations. Though at the time we were doing customer service, some of the things we were doing was ahead of a lot of our competition. Today's world and environment, particularly the omni-channel side of it, and the B2B side is very different than what we were used to doing back in the day, as they say. So here we go. So let's go for a ride here. Okay, order placement. Well, this is the event. This is the series of events. And you remember this probably from some of your other courses. But order placement is basically what happens. It's from the time that the order is places or sends an order and the time the seller receives the order. So here you're talking about the order cycle time, the internal order cycle time, the entry time, the approval time, the fulfillment time, and the shipping time. Those 4 basic activities that take place within the order placement time. And again, it's defined by person, mail, telephone, fax, or electronically via EDI. Now, this was actually in a book um, uh, that was published in May of 2015. And what I really find fascinating about this is that when I brought up faxes to some of my graduate students, they didn't even know what it was. They didn't know what a fax machine was. They didn't know how to operate a fax machine. And the idea of getting an order by a fax was just absolutely foreign to them. And the same with mail. You know, that's not how we do things anymore, but this was, of course, the accepted definition. And I just find it very surprising that in a book that was published in May of 2015, when the author talks about customer service and order fulfillment, this is what he thinks that means. I mean, I think this is not what it means at all. So we'll see if you agree. Okay. It's about the customer experience now. The customer experience is not defined as sending an order by mail, by fax, by phone, or whatever. It just simply is, that's not what it is. It's defined as the customer experience, or CX. We have abbreviations for everything, don't we? I'm not going to read this to you. You can read it yourself. It came right directly from Wikipedia. But my translation of it is this: I want what I want when I want it. And that's been what I've seen the whole process of going from order placement, which was exactly what it was as defined, to this, the customer experience, which is an entirely different animal, requires an entirely different mindset and set of tools, and understanding what this means in terms of your business and how you grow your business and how you respond to it. And whether it's, again, the customer can be B2B or it can be B2C, it doesn't matter, because those two are actually converging and they're becoming the same series of solutions and the same tools. The B2B is coming through on mobile products and apps. And so you're seeing this conversion of technology between B2C and B2B, where we used to, not that long ago, a few years ago, really looked at it as two separate channels. And what I would suggest to you is it is not going to remain like that. You're going to use the same kinds of tools in both channels and all channels now. Okay, so let's look at this. So I'm not going to read this to you. I guess I should probably have found a better word than Trump's everything, but I didn't. So there you are. But it is. I mean, the customer experience is what's driving sales these days, and you'll see why in just a second here. But here's just a full bullet points that have just come from some surveys and things that I think you might find interesting. Let me see if I can get this out of here so you can read it. So the one I really like is most buyers bail out of transactions and leave the items in the cart. Well, what in the world do you do with that? From an inventory perspective, do you consider that? Do you reserve it? Do you allocate it? Do you hold it for a day? What do you do with that inventory? And if you look in here, there's over $1.5 trillion of cart items left in the cart. How do you manage that from a customer service and an order placement base, and then an inventory allocation basis? I mean, that's a huge number. This is the one negative experience takes up to 12 positive experiences to bail yourself out of it. This is really very important. We used to have a saying that one awe eliminates 7 attaboys. So that was a relationship, 1 to 7. Now it's 1 to 12. So if you have one screw up, it's going to take you a long time to get that customer back, and you may never get that customer back. So again, the tolerance level is continuing to be shorter and shorter and shorter. The surveys and the research suggest that people will pay more for exceptional customer service. And this is a very key point. I'm going to get to it, I think, next, but I want you to keep that in mind. It's not always price shopping that they're looking for. And bad customer service reaches twice as many people as reports of good customer service. This is from the White House. So I don't know what they should know, but this is what they came up with. And customer service makes a brand. And a big chunk of it believes that that customer service is personalized. So that's the goal. It's this experience, the personalization of that experience. Make your consumer feel as though that they're having a personal experience here. Okay, so translating this into the new way we're doing it. Whoops, sorry about that. Is smartphones. Simply saying we've moved from um, from a desktop or a laptop to a smartphone type application. Smartphone, tablet perhaps, but even more than a tablet, a smartphone. So it's moving all the way down the channel. You have to have all of that. You have to have the web interface. You have to have a phone. You have to have a call center. You have to do this, but you also have to have the mobile. And the mobile is driving this going forward because of the impact of the millennial. And when you look at the millennial buyers and what they buy, how they buy, when they buy, and the volume they buy, you have to have solutions that go all the way down the channel. And this is part of the customer experience. If you don't have this, then this is how they buy. This is how millennials buy. The majority of millennials buy in this direction. 41% of Generation X. Which of course are getting older, and there's more of these, and there's more of these than there are. Right now we still have the baby boomers, that is me, who don't do this at all, or very, very rarely use this. Though I do use tablets a lot, but I don't use smartphones for this. But the millennials do, so that's probably the majority of you. If you have one, you're using it to make a purchase, and that's the point. You're using it to make a purchase. All the research says you're doing that, and all the indication is this is going to continue to increase. It is increasing this year, and will continue to increase even faster next year. And then Generation Z takes over, and you know this is going to, you know that this is going to continue to accelerate as the tool of preference going forward. And of course, we're seeing cross-channel purchases. So cross-channel means we're seeing brick and mortar, cross-channeling with pickup and buy online, pick up in store, cross-channeling with e-commerce and so forth. So the device preference is very important in this whole thing. So a lot of time and investment, as you'll see in a minute here, is going into that. While the desktop still dominates, or the tablet still dominates, the movement into small screen handhelds is where customer service is going, and I think that's really not limited to retail. I think that's the way this generation and this population is really going to love. They're going to live around that, so they want access to their patient records on the smartphone. So that app has to be customized in order to make that a very easy transaction, or a very easy point of entry, if you will, and secure point of entry, and on and on and on and on. I mean, this is just how it's being done. Okay, so in order to do that, then you have to have the supply chain competency to support all that. What that means is you have to have system-wide inventory visibility, or omni-channel. You have to have visibility wherever the product is. You have to provide that visibility to your consumer so that they can choose when they want it, and then you have to make the decision in the background as to how you're going to satisfy that order. So even if it's in a multi-echelon inventory situation, if it's in the echelon and it's available and they want it, you sell it to them, even though it maybe is not in the store. So that's the policy making kinds of trade-offs you're going to be making. So this is the omni-channel. So BOPUS is buy online, pick up in store. And if you are going to pick up in store, research says, don't make me go to the return line to pick up something in the store. Give me a desk where I can go for click and collect. And that should be, maybe it's customer pickup, but that's fine. But that's what it used to be called. Give me that desk. Don't make me wait on the return line to pick up an item that I've done a click and collect on. This is direct to consumer, which means you're bypassing your warehouse entirely, and you're shipping directly from your seller, who may be bought on Amazon, but the seller is now shipping directly to your consumer. This is becoming more and more common as Amazon is starting to charge more and more for the use of their warehouses. And of course, B2C is just that. The use of digital wallets, which is something that I'm not 100% experienced with because I don't do that, but I'm familiar with what the technology does and what it does, and I'll show you some things and what you as a millennial, what you do with a digital wallet. You need a web-based help desk. So this can be an instant messaging thing, which is pretty common right now. Or it could be a phone chat, it could be a Skype, it could be an email, it could be whatever, but it needs to be web-based. A lot of this exists right now. A lot of it doesn't. So you have to determine whether you want to invest in it or not. And this contact center, there needs to be a contact center, not a call center and a help desk and a self-service platform. There needs to be a contact center, which is a one-stop solution for your consumer to come in and get the level of response that they need through one particular portal. So this tends to be siloed. You know, here's an 800 number. Okay, no, you don't want to do that. Your customer is telling you you don't want to do that. Not me telling you that. Your customer is telling you that. And again, this whole idea of personalization. So make it very easy to have a return, provide track and trace, which is an essential data. When you do your freight cost calculations in there, if shipping's included, make sure you understand all the fees associated with it, whether they're accessorial fees. Understand that if you're shipping internationally, which will become more common now, e-commerce. I just finished a module on e-commerce, global e-commerce fulfillment, and it was a lot of it's around just the difference of shipping goods internationally versus domestically, but there are huge supporting activities around trade compliance, or what called global trade management, which is basically track and trace in the international arena is no different than track or trace domestically. People want to know what it is. They want to know what their price is going to be to buy it, including shipping. Well, in the global environment, you have duties, tariffs, taxes, you have handling charges, you have a variety of activities that take place that you don't have domestically. You have to classify the goods, you have to get a license to ship it, you may have to get a permit to ship the goods in addition to all that. And then there's exclusions to all that. So if the value of the order is under $1,000, you don't need to get a permit, you don't need to get a license. You can send it in with just your commercial invoice and your shipper's export declaration. So these are, again, understanding all that is quite different. But as the emerging country, as the middle class evolves in the emerging countries, the BRICS, if you will, then they want to buy. They actually want to buy from three places. They want to buy from the U.S., the UK, and Germany. Those three countries are perceived in the emerging market as being a higher quality product than they can get domestically. So that's what they want to buy. And the governments are working out so that you can bring these goods in on an easier basis with less bureaucratic documentation and so forth and so on to make that happen. And research is showing that those buyers spend more online than the average U.S. citizen does online. So when you take the numbers that could potentially grow out of China and India, and Russia and Brazil, which is BRIC, it's much larger than what we're seeing already in the U.S., which is in the $425 billion range right now, and of course home delivery, which is part of the home. So again, it's very complex, but that's competency you have to have. Okay. So that means that technology is website driven, it's CRM driven, and it's driven by analytics. And you're looking at selling, cross-selling, and upselling. You're looking at consumer behavior, where some of this we get back through behavior that we pick up through the returns process, which we'll spend some time on, and understanding the need for cross-channel marketing and satisfying that order from wherever you have to satisfy it. This is called customer centricity. So when you hear the term customer centricity, this is what it's all about. It's about not looking at the organization as a series of silos and saying, well, we can't satisfy this order from here because it's not in the store. Yeah, it's not in the store, but it's here. So get it. And this is putting the customer in the center of the activity and satisfying them. And the result of that is a repeat customer and customer retention. So it's giving the brand that single view of the customer and understanding who they are, understanding how they want to buy, whether it's B2B or whether it's B2C, but giving that buyer, giving the brand that view of the buyer, whatever that buyer is, what they want, how they want it, and how they behave. So that's called customer centricity. And this is the new thing now. How do you develop customer centricity in the market? Well, so this brings you back to omni-channel. So when you look at omni-channel, obviously if you're doing all this and you're satisfying, there's a cost. And that cost is very high. So you can see here, earlier this year, we have 18 cents of every dollar goes to logistics costs. I'll show you a slide here in a minute. The CAGR on this is 5%. This is compound average growth rate. So the CAGR is 5%. There were some major changes in that earlier last year with dimensional freight, particularly on small packages, which I would say would raise this up higher than that now. Free shipping is often cited as, how do I support free shipping? Because the cost of freight doesn't seem to ever go down. It just seems to continue to go up. So how do I do that? And now we're going to be shipping more and more internationally because we're going to be the one of the choice markets that people want to buy from. So what you really have here is this. You have this lack of alignment. You have silos, and you don't have workflows. You have silos, and so you have to convert. This has to be converted into standardized processes. It's basically what you have to have. They have to be scalable. They have to be flexible, and they have to be repeatable, and they have to be faster. So how are we going to do all that? Well, we'll talk about that in the next block. But it's all driven by data analytics, which now you have because it's been digitized. Everything has been digitized. So you can source from the most profitable location, but you have to have a system that can make that allocation based on profitability. Or you're going to let the service level dictate what it is and say, well, I'm going to provide 2-hour service no matter what, up until you can't. So if that's the case, I'm just going to do it. Now, even with all this, the interesting thing is that most of the business is done in a brick and mortar environment. So this is not necessarily going away by any means, and it's not the end of brick and mortar. This survey indicated that 57% prefer brick and mortar. E-commerce is still only 12 to 15% of retail. So there's a lot to go. So there's a difference between this is not limited to retail, but even on the retail side, you're looking at 12 to 15% will be e-commerce online purchases this year. So this is still desirable, but there is this cost. There's a cost associated with it. Well, how's that affecting some of these retailers? Well, my famous one is this one. So here is our good buddies, my good buddies, right here, and you can look at what is happening to their shipping operation. So you can look at it where their revenue from back here, before they introduced Prime, the revenue, shipping revenue, and their shipping costs were running fairly close. Okay, and you can see as Prime has taken off, as their markets have taken off, as they've gone to emerging markets, as they've expanded their operations, as they've added more and more items into the Prime program, they're upside down now by $4.5 billion. That's through Q3. So they're $4.5 billion upside down in a company that doesn't make $4.5 billion. This is a huge hurdle for them. And who's funding this? Web Services is funding this. So AWS is funding this. What else are they doing? Well, they are now becoming a 3PL. And when we talk about transportation intermediaries, Amazon is now a NVOCC, which is a non-vessel ocean common carrier. So they have the ability to, they have now chartered ships, so and they are running ocean vessels, and they will sell space in those ocean vessels um, to uh, to their suppliers, um, and they're now a third-party logistics provider. On the air side, it's even more. They just introduced Prime into China in the last 30, 45 days, I believe, 60 days maybe. Well, they've also chartered 20 freighters, and they're going to charter 20 more. And there's a good possibility one of them is going to come here to Lambert. That those discussions are ongoing right now about having a freighter hub from China here in Lambert, just due to the congestion elsewhere, and the fact that demand would justify it when you have 1.5 million square feet over in Edwardsville with 1,000 jobs. And just to give you a heads up, they can't fill those 1,000 jobs. This is of some concern, and they're looking at taking several 100,000 feet at Lambert, which they probably can fill those jobs, but they can't fill the jobs in Edwardsville they have now. So if anybody's looking for a job and at that type of job, they're there. You just have to get to Edwardsville every day. So this is the hurdle, isn't it? Right here. How do I pay for this? Well, in the case of Amazon, other services are paying for it, but those services are under competition too. And so their margins are going to be shrinking as well over time. But this continues to grow, and Amazon continues to move into different areas. So we'll see, but this is a heck of a number. So when you think about Walmart and you think about Amazon, think about this, okay? Because this is something to think about, is that Amazon's response to this, which is this response that Walmart has not done, is to become a third-party logistics provider. So sell their warehouse space to their partners, charter their own vessels, charter their own planes, run their own warehouses. That's been their response. It's not been Walmart's response, and very few people have the scale these guys that either Walmart or Amazon does. So that's just for you to look at. So that's the end of this session right here. So we'll stop with this one, and we're going to come back and talk about order fulfillment and customer service in what today's research is showing us about this.